الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا محمد سيد المرسلين وإمام المتقين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. وارض اللهم عن أصحابه الميامين والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين، وارض عنا معهم وفيهم بركتهم يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما، وانتشارنا من بعده انتشارا مباركا سامعا معصوما. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Pray Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our gathering, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our gathering, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it accepted. Ameen ya arham ar-rahimin ya rabbil alameen. Talking about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the best of things that we can gather for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's the best form of meditation, the ulama said. The best form of meditation is التفكر في رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, is to think about Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. There is a verse in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال قل هل أعظكم بواحدة أن تقوموا مثنى وفرادى تفكروا في صاحبكم. Think about this friend of yours, Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. Think about his perfection, think about his beauty, think about how what he brought could only be the truth and the absolute truth and the most beautiful truth. ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. Also some mufassirin, they said ذكر الله is Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the best way to reach the yaqeen and certainty is to talk about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and know him alayhi salatu wasalam. The more you know him alayhi salatu wasalam, the more yaqeen you will be having, the more certainty you will be having. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله. وصلنا, we reached what Imam Abul Qasim al-Junayd radiyallahu anhu said, وإنما كان خلقه عظيما لأنه لم يكن له همة سوى الله تعالى عليه الصلاة والسلام. And his character was exalted, if you may translate it that way, his khuluq was exalted عليه الصلاة والسلام because he only had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because his concern was only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this is such a refined statement. It's a school, and coming from someone like Abul Qasim al-Junayd is telling us, if you want to beautify your character, if you want to have a beautiful character, raise the level of your concerns. In other ways, if your concern is yourself, if you are so fixated on yourself, it's all about me, about me, about me, about me. If your concern is about is yourself, what am I going to get? Your akhlaq will never be great, because that's the lowest thing. That's the lowest thing. Even if you fake it, even if you smile, even if you hug people, even if you express kindness to people, you try your best, but when the moment of haqq comes, when a moment of test comes, someone who is consumed by his ego, someone who is consumed by his own image, can never be a man of akhlaq azima. He will fail, or she will fail. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. طيب. So, because that's the lowest concern. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking in Surah Al-Imran about this طائفة أهمتهم أنفسهم يظنون بالله غير الحق ظن الجاهلية يقولون هل لنا من الأمر من شيء يقولون لو كان لنا من الأمر شيء ما قتلنا هنا قل إن الأمر كله لله يخفون في أنفسهم ما لا يبدون لك لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about this ta'ifa, this group of people who followed Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in one of the missions alayhi salatu wasalam. So they were with him physically. But when the moment of truth came, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about them أهمتهم أنفسهم. They were so consumed by their own selves and what's going to happen to them and with them and what about them? And they couldn't open, they couldn't melt, they couldn't see the big picture, they couldn't give themselves to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they couldn't love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than themselves, they couldn't give themselves their own private interest to the interest of the da'wah, they couldn't. أهمتهم أنفسهم, it's all about them. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. So they see the miracles, they see the beauty, they see the da'wah, they see the expansion of the da'wah, but they cannot see it. It doesn't talk to them, it doesn't speak to them, it doesn't make them happy because the question that they are raising, what about me? What am I getting here? The other companions, they see it. They are flying with joy. They see every single one who accepts Islam, for them it's a victory for them. Every smile that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would give to anyone they see, they have that concern for others. They have that concern for others. They love for others what they love for themselves. So they are not at the level, what about me? What am I getting? As long as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam بخير, everything is بخير. ماذا صنع رسول الله? That lady, that beautiful lady, عليها رضوان الله, that Sahabiyya, that mother of the believers, the teacher of the believers, عليها سلام الله عليها رضوان الله, when she comes after her father passed away, and in another narration her children passed away, and her husband and her brother, على كل حال, members of her family, 3 at least members of her family, they got killed in that battle, and people were telling her, your father or your brother or your son. And ماذا فعل رسول الله? What about Rasulullah? What about Rasulullah? They would tell her, هو بخير. أروني أنظر إليه. She only felt reassured when she saw him, and when she saw him, she went and she took the khitam of his naqa, and she told him, كل مصيبة بعدك جلل. As long as you are safe, anything after you is trivial. Anything else, subhanallah, la ilaha illallah. You see, that's the iman. That's why her khuluq was azim. You see that khuluq? We're talking about sabr, we're talking about patience, we're talking about khuluq, we're talking about rida, we're talking about contentment, we're talking about the 4 pillars of the Kaaba of the heart. Her sabr, her shukr, her tawakkul, and her rida. Khuluq azim. The bunyan was mushayyad azim. The building of her akhlaq was azim because, subhanallah. The secret? Because she was not consumed by herself. The secret? Because she allowed herself to see the big picture and to melt in the big picture. Selflessly. You remember when we said the master of كل الأخلاق العظيمة is selflessness, and والعياذ بالله, the lowest khuluq is selfishness. There is no beautiful character with selfishness. خلاص. It's a poison. If someone is selfish, if someone is only concerned about himself or herself, all her smiles or his smiles are poisoned. They cannot be generous. They cannot be patient. They cannot be thankful. Because the image that they have, it's me, me, me. What am I getting? But if your concern is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not about you. It's not what about you are getting materially. It's not what about, Allahu Akbar. If your concern is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is in more practical words, if your concern is really how to nourish the other, if you step out of yourself, if you step out of yourself, of that cocoon of the selfishness, then your khuluq will be azim. Regardless. Inevitably. إنما كان يزد with the hasr. His khuluq was only azim because his concern was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes we think that akhlaq are some things that we learn one by one. Today we are going to learn patience. This verse, this hadith, this verse, this hadith. That won't make you patient. Even if I give you all the verses about patience and all the hadith about patience and all the sayings about patience. Okay, tomorrow we are going to learn about gratitude. We are going to learn about patience. Learn about gratitude. We are not going to learn how to be patient or how to have gratitude. No. If anything, these things will help you, motivate you, or better than all of that, burn your heart to make you feel the burn, to ask, to beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you this akhlaq. But the door to have all the akhlaq al-azima is really when you become selfless. The day you become selfless, your akhlaq will be azima. Let me explain it more. In a relationship between a husband and wife, or between two friends, the day you start becoming selfless with that person, with that companion, and thinking of his or her well-being before your own status or comfort, or inevitably your akhlaq will be beautiful with that person. Inevitably. You don't want to work hard after that. It will come natural. That selflessness will dictate the good akhlaq. Even if you are angry, even if you are upset, even if you are... How are they going to receive this? How are they? You will be, because you are selfless, because you are thinking of that person, because you want to nourish that person, because you have that concern to help that person grow and blossom. But if you are selfish, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and cure us from selfishness. It's going to be only about defending myself, this. And there won't be any concern about the other. How is he going to take it, or how is she going to take it? Assalamu alaikum. Is she going to be able to carry this? Is he going to be able to carry this? Is this good for his journey with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or no? We'll just react. Not respond. React. Effervescent. So if you want to have akhlaq azima, let us become selfless. And let our concern become Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In more practical meaning, let our concern be bigger than the self. Let your concern be bigger than yourself. Again, let our concern be bigger than ourselves. Because when your concern becomes bigger than yourself, it's godly. Because there is nothing bigger than the self except God. If you are out of yourself, inevitably you are in the hands of Allah. Inevitably. Get out of yourself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be there for you. And that's the only condition that He put for us. Otherwise, all the other things are within the self. Shaitan is within the self, is not outside of the self. Cannot become bigger than yourself and fall into the trap of shaitan. Never. Mustahil. Shaitan will never. The only door that shaitan, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from his tricks, the only door that he can enter from is the small self, is selfishness. Is that self. Is your selfishness. Otherwise he cannot. ليس له عليك سلطان. He doesn't have any other way. If you become bigger than yourself, that means you are bigger than the whole world. That means that because the whole world is inside the self, is inside the nafs, the whole world, including shaitan. All of them are smaller than the self. I don't know if this makes sense. If you do not understand it, ask questions after, or even immediately, if you don't understand the image.
What does it mean?
Huh?
What does it mean with self?
إيش معنى السلف؟
Yeah.
النفس.
Yeah, I know, but
يعني سيد الكريم,
bigger than themselves, bigger than
what does it mean to become bigger than yourself?
Yeah,
When you're concerned, when your concern will be bigger than yourself. Your concern is bigger than yourself. Yourself, when you have concern for others, that's bigger than yourself. ما هو محصور في ذاتك. إيش أنا أخذته؟ إيش أنا استنفعت؟
not me.
when it becomes not me, when it becomes about others, خلاص, you are bigger than yourself.
Which is good or bad?
Good.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What we are saying, when you become selfless,
Yeah, okay.
you become for God.
Okay.
I have one question.
Because we say it all the time, for the sake of God, and we explained it in this class before. What's the practical meaning of for the sake of God? I was asked that question, and they did not find a better answer than being selfless in modern language, because people today, they understand how to be selfless. What's the meaning of selfless? To be bigger than yourself, to have a concern bigger than yourself. They understand this language. It talks to them, and we tell them, for the sake of God. And actually that's the meaning. What does it mean for the sake? You cannot be bigger than yourself and you are not for the sake of God. Can't. Inevitably يأبى الحق إلا أن يكون لله. Because the self is batil. الذات والنفس هذه is batil, and all the batil, all the world of illusions is محصور, is within this nafs. All the world of illusion. Now what is bigger than batil? Haqq. And if you are selfless, if you are bigger than yourself, if your concern is bigger than yourself, you are haqq. وَيَأْبَى الْحَقِّ لَأَنْ يَكُونَ لِلَّهِ. The haqq is an attribute of Allah subhanahu. The haqq will return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The haqq belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah accepts the haqq. Allah has bought the haqq. Labbaik. Yes.
Yeah, on the question which is coming to my mind, how we will fix the perimeters of a self, or what are the limitations of a self? I mean, how can I be a selfless? Let's say I have my needs. I have needs of my family, right?
Naam.
And I have pain for others, very terrible pain, right? So whether I can usurp or I can eat away the rights of my, whatever are the needs of myself or my immediate family, so then I will become selfless. Or the main question is, what are the limitations and borders of self? Self or selfless?
It's a path. So selflessness is a path. It's not one step. Selflessness starts the minimum of selflessness starts when you do not take the right of others in order to benefit yourself. It starts with you wish for others what you wish for yourself. It starts at that point. It starts when you do not hurt the others in order to benefit yourself.
That's dishonesty.
Aywa.
So,
Selflessness starts at that level when you do not hurt others in order to benefit yourself or your family. You do not hurt the kids of others in order to help your kids. You do not destroy others in order to build yourself. That's the minimum of selflessness. That's the minimum of selflessness. Selflessness is a good attribute. It's the opposite of selfishness, you understand? That's the minimum of it. And you grow in selflessness until you prefer others over yourself. Some people reach that level. It's a path. It's a path. You prefer others over than yourself. Maybe for our state now, for our station now, that's the theory. This is something big, but
so that means if I am honest,
yes.
that means I am therefore I am touching the minimum level of
نعم.
selflessness.
Yes. نعم. يعني you are in the beginning of the path. You are good. You are in the beginning of the path, but that quality can grow.
Is selfless opposite of selfish?
نعم. Selflessness is the opposite of selfishness. أيوة.
Okay, now selflessness, you know,
Selfishness هي الأنانية. Selflessness هو الإيثار.
okay.
Selflessness هو يؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة. Selflessness is the opposite of أنانية. هذا عكس الأنانية. مفهوم؟ أيوة. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing in the Quran some people who prefer others upon themselves even if they are in most need. ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة. This is a high degree of selflessness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this verse about the Ansar in some narration, about Imam Ali and Sayyidah Fatima in another narration. So in both cases you are talking about the highest caliber among the students of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You understand? So we said selflessness starts when you do not take the rights of others or hurt others in order to increase yourself or to benefit yourself. And it grows until you start thinking of others before yourself. And يؤثرون على أنفسهم لو كان فيهم خصاصة. And the human being, within the human being has that capacity and has that potential. And we know that 3 of the students of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached the level. They were about to die. And you give them the water. And he tells you, my brother, give him first. You cannot fake anything at that point. It's a moment of haqq, it's a moment of need, it's a moment of agony. It's a moment when you cannot work with only 10% maybe or 1% of the capacity of the brain is still working.
Less than 1%. Less than 1%.
Even less than that.
Less than 1%.
Moments of agony. Imagine that. And look at the focus, because they were not having their akhlaq, let me say the platform of their akhlaq was not their brain. Their akhlaq were not brain-based akhlaq. You understand? Or intellectual-based akhlaq. Am I saying it right? Because many of our akhlaq today, our manners and our etiquettes today are brain-based. But when you lose your brain, when you become angry, you lose it all. And that's the akhlaq of the munafiq. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam talking about the munafiq, what did he say about the munafiq? خصال المنافق ثلاث. One of them إذا حدث كذب. Number 2, وإذا اؤتمن خان. Number 3, وإذا خاصم فجر. Oof. When he's angry, خلاص. He curses and he yells and all the beautiful attributes that were in you, they become the opposite. العياذ بالله. Why? Because he lost his عقل. He lost his intellect. When you are angry, you lose your intellect. But Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم, because his أخلاق are عظيمة, قال عنده القصد في الرضا والغضب. Even when he is, let us say, emotional or something like that, عليه الصلاة والسلام, and the people who are taught by him and who are trained by him, still, what is for you is for you. It's not because they are angry with you, they will start telling you things like that, just do. What is for you is for you, what is against you is against you. They won't praise you with things that are not for you when they are very happy, and they are not going to be hurting you or throwing things on you that are not true when they are angry with you. طيب. So the akhlaq are not intellectual based akhlaq, but they are spiritual based akhlaq. They are godly based akhlaq. They are heart based akhlaq. The concern, the ham al-azim. We understand this, how to. Is there any other question or labbaik?
So when you gave the example of the relationship between two companions, you mentioned that it's important to have a concern that we get to a point where we're nourishing the other and nourishing the other's well-being. But in some relationships, especially relationships that are where one is more active than the other, so say a teacher and a student, or a husband and a wife in certain contexts, father, son, mother, daughter, etc. The concern of the passive one, how does that manifest into nourishing the one who is more active in that relationship? So, because very often the one who is passive, the concern is a lot more me, in the sense that
absolutely, that is it becomes abuse. That's abuse. That's the very definition of abuse. That's the very definition of abuse. When the relationship is like that. So it shouldn't be passive. You should be active. Even in, yes, you are taking, you are benefiting, you are the child or you are the student or you are the. But your concern should be increasing that other person too, and the well-being of the other person too. Even if you are not giving anything materially, you give your love. You give your love, and whatever, and any time that something that you can give, it will come, and you will find things to give. You will find things to give. You won't be able to not find anything to give. You will find things to give. You will always find things to help.
Sometimes it comes also nature.
نعم.
Nature. Human being, they're born not even religious or study or do something, the faith. By nature, no education, but by nature they're thinking others. Their habit is to do for others. Thinking others, doing for others.
That's when they work on themselves, or they got trained when they were kids in family, telling them that think of others. But what we see, the majority of people, they think of themselves more. They think of themselves more. The whole modern civilization is based on hurting others in order to benefit yourself and not thinking of others. I mean, this easiest. You go in to buy a shirt, as long as it is the cheapest, that's it. Oh, that's my first and my last concern. I don't care how this shirt was made. You want to the market, all what I'm concerned about is to have is to buy it at the lowest price.
But now society is just opposite.
أيوة. This is the society.
The society is not thinking that the water, asking for water and showing that no, he is more thirsty.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unimaginable
Yeah.
nowadays.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. So because it is based on what we call individualism. And that's the whole thing of individualism. It's selfishness. Everything is about what am I getting? How am I going to get through this? It's all about me. And let the others go to the hell. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. So in a relationship like that, Sayyid al-Kareem, you can think of the others, you can help. You can think of the others. Through your patience, you can nourish the other. Through being a good student, you can nourish the teacher. Through being a good son, you nourish your father. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Quran, وَاخْفَضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنْ إيش؟ من الرحمة وقرب برحمهما كما ربينا صغيرا. Even your akhlaq with your father and mother should be from what? That humility. That and that you are exercising with the father and mother should be from what? Should be from rahmat. It should be from concern for them. Yeah? Have that concern for them. Have that concern for them because it's their haqq, it's their right. Yeah? That's how they get nourished. It's not only materially. It's not he gives me information, then I have to give him information. No, it's different. It's different.
Would it be wrong to think, would it be selfless or selfish to think, my father wants me to be this way, so let me try to be this way, let me work on that?
What is the question? Sorry?
In this example,
Yes.
Is it selfish or selfless to think, my father wants me to be this way, so let me be this way, let me try to be this way, work on this, on myself? Is this selfish or selfless?
For example, his father
No.
wants
What is this way?
Alhamdulillah, my father wants me to study well, for example,
أيوه.
or to be healthy, for example, anything. But I'm thinking about myself and I'm working on myself. But for him, is that selfless?
It is selfless. If you are working on yourself for others, it is selfless. But it has to be. Selflessness is not for the selfishness of others too. You understand? It shouldn't be. You cannot be selfless and helping others to become more selfish. That's not selflessness. That's not nourishing the others. You understand? So absolutely, selflessness does not mean to let others abuse of you. Does not mean, you understand? Selflessness does not mean to let others abuse of you because you are hurting them in that way. You are hurting them in that way. Allowing the abuse and just not dealing with it, without having any strategy to deal with it. You can keep silent, but out of strategy to deal with it. You can do, but you have to have a plan. You have to have concern for that. But allowing abuse, and that's it. And sometimes the wish of the father or of the mother for the son to be in a particular way, to become a doctor, to become an engineer, is out of selfishness. It's not something godly. It's not something nurani. It's not something. So, depending. That's why I told you what is that thing. What is that thing? Naam. Absolutely. Naam. You wanted to say yes. لبيك مرحبا. أيوة. Mm-hmm. أيوة. It depends. So the question is, now you are in a gathering, for example, and there is a high one in that gathering. Let us say there is the Shaykh or the Imam, or you want to please the Shaykh, but pleasing the Shaykh means hurting the students in some time. What do you do? There are many circumstances here. Many circumstances here. If pleasing the Shaykh for something selfish for the Shaykh would hurt the students, then that, you are not nourishing the Shaykh and you are not nourishing the students. But for example, if you are pleasing the Shaykh with something that is giving advice, the Shaykh has something, do not want people to keep talking, for example, between the adhan and the iqamah. Why? For his own well-being? No. For the others' well-being, for everyone's well-being. So, if giving advice would please the Shaykh and temporarily hurt the feelings of some people who are not used to welcome the advice, or people of high impermeability, like HR. We have a lot of that today. High impermeability to advice, to nasiha. That's not hurting them. That's maybe hurting their. So you have to say it. You have to say it in a good way, in a polite way. But you have to say it, even if it is not pleasing to them. And that's really because if you want to act selfishly, I say, who cares? You know what? I will find a corner and let it be. To be selfish, if you want to act selfishly, I want to be friends with everyone. I don't want any trouble. I don't want any problem. That's selfishness. I want to be friends with everyone. I don't want problems. If I say any advice, it won't be well received, and people will won't be happy with me. You know what? I don't want any trouble. Let me keep silent. That will be selfish. That will be selfish. So depending on the context, it's not about pleasing the high one and displeasing the ones who are below. It's about what is it? The high one is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If pleasing the high one is actually pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Bismillah. Then Bismillah. Then Bismillah. You have to, in that time, in that point, find the good deal, find the good way, how to convey it, how to convey that nasiha, for example, or how to convey that thing, because it is. This is if it is coming from the high one, as you said, if it is coming for the well-being of everyone. But if it is coming from a low place, if it is coming from a selfish place, if it is, for example, the greed of that person, if it is, for example, the compulsive OCD of that person, obsessive compulsive disorder of that person. If it is, for example, you are not going to please that and hurt others, then you have to pleasing that won't help him to begin with, or won't help her to begin with. So if the intention is high, and you know who is in that majma', for example, the high one, mashallah, is someone who has the concern for others, who is serving others, etc. Absolutely. So pleasing him means everything. Means everything. Labbaik.
When you say care more for others than yourself, where is the balance when it comes to your own family, for example? Because some people, let's say, parents might put all of their efforts into their children. At which point should they step back and be looking to beyond their own family limits? Like, how much do you give your family and how much do you spare for those around you?
طيب, your family to begin with is other than you. I mean, if you want to practice selflessness, you start practicing it with your own family. طيب. First, At some point, you become aware of some selfishness in your parents, for example. It is their, or your wife, or your kids. It is selfishness. It's not something reasonable. They just want you to be with them. Any holiday we go for, you have to come with us, otherwise they are very upset with you. I want you to be with us every single Saturday and Sunday, every weekend. Cannot go to any activity. Otherwise, they will take that from you as a sign of lack of love or lack of. And here you have to. It becomes a human's relation. But yes, we are not called or to please the selfishness or selfish desires of others, even those whom we love a lot. We cannot do that. We are not called by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to please the selfishness of others. So please the selfishness of others is not selflessness. Selflessness is to respond to the need of others. You understand? The need of others, not the luxury of others, the need of others. They need it, they need it. Okay? My mom's request is reasonable for this. طيب. If my mom wants to step in my house and destroy it, wants to step in my house every time, and she did not work on herself, and we are working, there is nothing ideal. We love our mothers, we love our parents, and more than anything, but unfortunately sometimes, and that's the reality, you find yourself with a father or with a mother who did not work, or with a husband or with a wife, or who did not work on himself or on herself, to become bigger than themselves, to become selfless people. Some mothers, they come just for them to see their daughter happy with their husbands, just because they lived divorce before. They want there is a uqda, there is a sickness, there is something like that. We've seen many things like that. Are you going to respond to that? You know, you have to be aware. You have to be aware of the people around you, their sicknesses. You have to be aware. So being selfless with that doesn't mean that allowing the selfishness of others to destroy you. Being selfless doesn't mean allowing the selfishness of others to abuse you and to destroy you, or destroy your family, or destroy others, or take you from your mission. From your mission. Give them their needs, and there is a frame. And you serve others too. We are not created to be cocooned in our families. No. The family is a step. We are not created to destroy our families in order to serve others. It can't happen. But also we are not created to become imprisoned in our families. You understand? So if the family are trying, any kind of family, wife, husband, mother, father, children, if they are becoming a prison, that means that there is a form of abuse there. We have to address. We have to think of it. It's not good for them. It's not even a form of selflessness to nourish the selfishness of others. You are hurting them more than anything. We learned that in the criminology. Allowing the abuser, tolerating abuse, is the worst thing that you can do to the abuser. Some people, they get used to abuse their parents, for example, to abuse the authority, for example. They get used. Every time they yell, they do things, and after that, the mother forgives. You know what? And she will be waiting with the dinner for him. He did things, he broke things, he yelled, he even cursed her, he even said, we've seen that, we saw that in Tunisia. And you know what? You are bringing a big chapter. I believe that the problem of our generation today is this, is because especially in Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, etc., is the over parenting. Is there such a term?
Yeah,
Huh?
exactly the term.
Alhamdulillah. Is the over parenting. Over parenting. I mean, I saw things, and I told my mother before, and I saw, and I remember people, and my aunt, etc., her son. So you are not doing good for him. He has to understand that he has a limit. You have at some point to tell him that you are going to lose me if you continue like this. There is a limit. It's not threaten him emotionally, but at some point, you allow your kid to do everything, and curse you and tell you big words and etc. And after that, you are waiting with the dinner for him, without him saying sorry. That's abusing. That's not selflessness. Unless you have a strategy and you have a plan. You understand? Sometimes you have a plan in your mind. Sometimes you have a strategy in your mind. You do it once or twice or 3 times to show him another level. And you are working with God on him. You understand? So, you know what? I'm preparing the dinner as a slap. So yes, he did all of that to me, but yes, I want to slap him spiritually. I want to slap him. I want him to feel that there is something much bigger than that. You know when you turn your left cheek to the one who slapped you in the right cheek, it could be the worst slap that you are giving that person, if you are doing it with that intention. And that's what Sayyidina Aissa alayhi salam invited us to do. He did not invite us, you know what? Let others abuse of you. What kind of religion is that? Forgiving is not to let others abuse of you and okay, you can take it for granted and then you can keep abusing others. No. Turning your cheek can be the harshest slap that you can. The more convincing and the deeper form. If you are doing it with that intention, to wake that person up, there is something bigger than that. Yes, you are hurting me, you are expecting me to react, I'm not going to react. Here. You understand? And then it is selfless. Selfless is to work with God. Selfless is to really care for the well-being. And when we're talking about well-being, it is the well-being of the akhirah before the well-being of the dunya. The whole well-being, the well-being as a whole. As a whole. You understand? Again, feeding selfishness of others is not a form of selflessness. Feeding the selfishness of others is not a form of selflessness. You can tolerate, you can forgive, you can in a strategy, in a strategical form, wanting to teach something. And that's why we let go of many things many times. You know what? معلش this time, معلش the next time, هكذا, in order, inshallah he will understand, inshallah she will understand, inshallah he will get it, inshallah she will get it. That's selflessness. طيب. But when there is no strategy, when there is no thinking, when there is no plan, the iqamah is at 8, Sayyidi, or? You changed the time of the iqamah? Okay. What time? 7:45? Marhaba. معلش, I thought it was still at 8. We'll make the iqamah at 8. هكذا. Understand? Is there any question about this? I don't want it to be philosophy. It's something.
I'll give you an example.
لبيك.
I have one of my relatives, one who was talking to me.
نعم.
He was going on the road and he hit the car. You know, the guy came out and he was screaming at him, and I always, you know, somebody with the glasses, you know, like blind guys, and I said, well, alhamdulillah, God gave you good eyes, but we have bad eyes, you know. And he started, you know, and I apologize. And the guy felt it after. And
Ah.
I'm very sorry, you know, like, and he came and kissed his head. You know.
Alhamdulillah.
The other way, you know.
Aha.
You know what I mean?
Hey, mafhum.
Yeah.
Because his tolerance was out of feeding the other. It's not out of fear from the other. You understand?
Rather than
Ah.
he said,
It was not to escape conflict or avoid conflict. Avoid conflict is selfishness. You understand? I want to keep my own peace. You know what? I want to avoid conflict. And it's cowardice. And it is selfishness. And people today, they have that. And you find people who avoid conflict are the most resentful people. They just go with a grudge, hey, you are better to make a conflict rather than going like that and after, you see? No. Avoiding conflict is selfish because, no, we have to let the other know his mistake in a way or another. You do not, in one way or the other, right? Yes.
Well, I'm just seeing like a lot of similarities between this and the way like a people would relate to a tyrant, for example.
أيوة.
How
أيوة.
would that apply?
أيوة, because fearing a tyrant, allowing his abuse out for their concern, was it selfless concern? It was selfish concern. They wanted to protect themselves from the tyrant. Out of selfishness. They hate him. They are cursing him with their hearts. And they are kissing his hands. What are you doing? That's the worst thing that you can do for a human being. You are raising his photos and the banners of his name, and you are hating him with your heart. You are insulting him. Actually, what is selflessness in that? Huh? It's the two faces. That's selfishness. That's the worst selfishness. People out of what? They are consumed with their own interests. Let me take from him whatever I can take and protect myself from his evil. Many relationships, many many couple relationships became like that today. I want to save my marriage. It's not saved, I'm sorry. Spiritually speaking, we're divorced. What are you talking about? Yani, you saved your marriage and you are hating him. You save your marriage when you can come to a level, I'm allowing that to nourish him, having the hope that he will change one day. Or having the hope that she will change one day. And then you will see wonders. Aissa told me about her Aissa, her teacher, who got her student marry an atheist. He became one of the best da'iyah today. One of the best calls to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala today. It's really something else. And that's a high level, but it exists. But really just protecting, and you know what? Some people say protecting the peace. That's not protecting peace. Or for peaceful coexistence. No. That's not a peaceful coexistence. Peaceful coexistence when you care for others. Allowing their abuse and hating them and cursing them in your heart. And just because you are fearing their power, you keep silent. And that's not peaceful coexistence. Wallahu wa rasuluhu a'lam. Na'am.
No, I was just going to say that in some situations you find the extreme opposite where people feel very emboldened to sort of bring up every single thing that they think is wrong.
Yeah, that's a criticism.
Like at work or something like
Every single thing they will tell you this.
that.
Yeah.
And then like, I just want to be open with you, I don't want to have anything with
Yeah.
you. So I was just maybe thinking that
Naam.
sometimes in a marriage, it's good to
Ah.
consider silence because you may be feeling a certain way, but you know that it's not.
It's not coming from the right place. Your heart was not in the right place. That's the question. That is the question. Again, we go back to the first to the first point. It's you have to know yourself. You have to know your thoughts are coming from where. So yes, barakallahu feek, the other extreme is really to just be on the defensive and thinking that I'm helping you, and you know, criticizing someone and criticizing every small aspect is not helping that person. Yani it has to come from the right place. It has to come from the right place. It has to come from that true concern. And if we are concerned, we go back to the qawl of Abul Qasim al-Junayd. If our concern is bigger than most of our criticism today is what? Is what? Is defensiveness or what? What else? Nagging, reacting. Most of our criticism today is not to build is the negative criticism. Most of our criticism today, with all we come and I have to find faults. For you, I want to help you. No, really, you want to help me? Choose the time. Choose the time. Choose the moment. So when we say you have to, so it's a whole. It's a whole. It goes back to where it is coming from. If your words are coming from the right place, then they are right. If your silence is coming from the right place, then it is right. Okay? What is the right place? The concern, a true concern. A true concern. A true ham. طيب. But if it is coming from the wrong place, if your words are coming from the wrong place, they are wrong. Even if they are the most beautiful ones. If your silence is coming from the wrong place, fear, then it is wrong. Then it is wrong. Even if it is, so again, this is all to explain that saying of Sayyid Abul Qasim al-Junayd when he says, وَإِنَّمَا كَانَ خُلُقُهُ عَظِيمًا لِأَنَّهُ لَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ هِمَّةٌ سِوَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. So if our himma is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then our heart is in the right place, and our akhlaq will be good, and that will dictate our akhlaq. Okay? We are not talking about forms of behavior. We are not talking about forms of behavior disconnected from the heart. We are not talking about forms of behavior disconnected from the intention, because again, many people, they think that akhlaq, beautiful manners and characters, are like protocols. You can have good akhlaq, but your heart, no. It's really the reality of the soul. It's the reality of what you intend. It's your concern. You cannot fake good manners. You cannot fake good behavior. We are not talking about the behavior, the etiquettes, like the modern society have today. You find people with the best smile, with the best manners, with the best character, etc. But it's not out of concern, it's out of keeping political correctness. And that's not akhlaq. That's not political correctness. It's really, akhlaq is when you have true love and true concern for others. Then your akhlaq will be good with them, and you will know when to tell them stop sometimes. Out of love. Stop. I'm not allowing you to do it. Because this is not going to be good for you. Even with your child, you understand it, because we love our children more than anything else, and we know at some point, if you see, at some point you think, if I'm going to allow him to continue like this, or allow her to continue like this is not going to make her or him a good person. No, stop for your good. For your own good. Sometimes, yes, you have to stop. No, I'm not allowing you to do it. Sometimes it happens like that. أحسن الله إليكم. If there is no other question, make dua. حفظكم الله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم يا نعم المولى ونعم النصير، أنت أحرص علينا يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين من كل أحد. ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم جعلته حريصا علينا بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم بسر الحرص الذي أودعته إياه أودعته في قلبه الشريف، بسر ذلك الحرص المبارك وبركة ذلك الهم المبارك وببركة تلك الرأفة وتلك الرحمة يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. نسألك أن تجعل في قلوبنا وأن تقذف في قلوبنا حرصا على مصلحة الآخرين ورحمة بهم ورأفة بهم يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين، واجعل ذلك من أجلك يا نعم المولى ويا نعم النصير. اللهم علق همتنا بك يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين حتى تكون أخلاقنا كريمة يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. وصلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين. الفاتحة. Alhamdulillah. So the next class of the next session, inshallah, of Sayyidina Muhammad, father to humanity. So for those the first time they came and the discussion, we are studying about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but through the let us say the lenses of the lens of him being a father to humanity, and what a father is. The father is the nourisher. Inshallah, the next, bi'idhnillah sami' alim, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq and gives us good life and allows us to come back, bi'idhnillah sami' alim. The next class will be November, could be Friday. Naam Sayyidi? هكذا. No, I think 18th. No. I think 18th. November 18th, right? November 18th. I'm traveling for a month, inshallah, after a month. So, November 18th, inshallah, بإذن الله السميع العليم. نعم. بإذن الله السميع العليم. I think so. نعم. Inshallah, it will be announced. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you tawfiq. Inshallah, there will be the halaqah of answer shanas continuing for another 2 weeks, for another 2 Tuesdays, or at least, for another 2 Tuesdays. So inshallah, benefit from that. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us and you tawfiq. Inshallah, try to put this into practice. Let us try to develop this concern for others and really care for others and father others, and out of concern, not negative concern, not positive concern. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.